I promise green is not broken. It'll be okay. Hey everybody, it's Espira, and we're back with another weekly roundup of the different reveals for Fusion World Set 2 Blazing Aura. We also got some confirmation, or at least some official English translated versions of some of the cards that we covered last week. So without further ado, let's break it down. To kick it off, we do have the full English translation for Cell. Same awakening condition as any other leader. On his awakened side, we do have the confirmation that he has the ability on 5 energy. So presumably, somehow the leader is probably going to have lots of ways to destroy your own energy. Either get you down from like what we'll see 8, which is one of the things that Cell apparently wants to get to, all the way down to 5. So you can consistently build your way back up as you're destroying your own energy. Not much to say here. We won't really be able to know much until we understand more of what that 5 draw support is going to look like. Included with the Cell Leader, we also got the full reveals for the SRs that we saw last week. So Kefla is the same thing. Permanent gets a 5k, able to play 3 or less. We also have the Trunks, the same thing. If you have 5 or more energy, ramp 1. And then if something gets removed from your board, it gets an additional 10k. Bulma, as cracked as she is exactly the way that she was meant to be. So switch this card to rest mode, add up to 1 card to your life, and then do one of 2 things, either rest mode of 4 or less, or if you have a 3 or more in rest mode, draw 1 card. So incredibly strong. The only side confirmation that we really got was that Zamasu does specify opponent skills. So it's not your own skills, so you can use them in Goku Black. So for your Goku Black players, there you may rejoice. We had not covered some of the reveals that happened, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago. So we're actually going to do a quick deep dive to cover those before we round out and go back to covering the brand new stuff. So we've got Android 18 on your opponent's turn. This card gets 5k, making it a 25k on your opponent's turn. Again, you can play this with Topku. Nothing crazy there. Tien is really funny, not for the top deck, but for the U7 deck. It's a 3 cost 20k with 5k combo on play. Play up to 3 Tiens with 15k power or less from your hand. So in Topku, this is kind of bad because obviously they're just, from what we know, we have the blocker and we got the 15k attacker. Those don't really do much. But in U7Ku, you can pay 3 to effectively get 4 20k attackers or 25k plus. So like, it is fun that this is opening up different ways to play for the older strategies. This could be really stupid, and honestly, like if you're up against a green player, being able to make this play is really, really nasty. Then we've got Rosie, a 2-drop 15k 10k combo. When attacking, this card gets 5k power for each of your opponent's battle cards. So if your opponent has a battle card, it's a 20k attacker, then it goes 25, 30, so on and so forth. So scales pretty well. I don't know how good this is. Oftentimes, if your opponent has a bigger board than you do, odds are you're losing. And I don't know how a singular card that's like a 20, 25, 30k is going to help, but maybe it helps clear board. You never know. But the more it clears board, the weaker she gets. Either way, I think she's a fine card. I don't think she's amazing, but of course, these are only commons. Jumping into yellow, we have this 25k power Goku 3 cost 5k combo. Permanent on your turn. If your opponent has 3 or more rest mode battle cards, this card gets 5k power. So, which makes it a 3-drop 30k. It's fine. I don't think it's special. I don't think it's fantastic. I think it's an okay card. Piccolo reads interesting. It's a 3-drop 25k 5k combo blocker, and then 1 KO. You get to choose up to 1 of your battle cards and switch to active mode. The numbers are nice on Piccolo. It's a 25k for 3. It does have combo power, and it enables you to use additional blockers or save 1 of your cards that had attacked. So there is some usage here. I don't love it, but I think it's an okay card. And it combines with this Gohan, which is a 2-cost 15k 10k combo. On play, choose up to 1 of your Piccolo battle cards that cost a 3 and switch it to active mode. So you get to use your Piccolo to attack. You can play Gohan, restand him, and now he's a blocker. Doesn't really matter as much if you play like say Frieza, where you can just restand your cards anyways. But it does give that option, especially in Vegeta, which restands energy as opposed to being able to restand battle cards. Jumping over to blue, and we've got Shin, a 1-cost searcher, 5k combo. On play, look at the top 5 cards at the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 card with Patara in its special trait and add it to your hand. Place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. And that's really cool. Patara is not a trait we ever had in Masters. So the fact that we can specifically search for our fusion cards is really awesome. And something that I was really, really, really hoping for was that this was the introduction of fusion mechanics, right? We saw with set 1 that we got a bunch of Gotenks cards, and those are just raw battle cards, right? There's like no fusion mechanics. And for context, in Masters, there are many fusion mechanics which will require you to have the required pieces on board. So like if you want to make a Vegito, you have a Goku and a Vegeta on board, and then they fuse together to make Vegito. Or if you want a Gogeta, you need them in your hand, and they need to have the same battle power, which is kind of like the fusion dance and balancing your battle power there. So unfortunately, while this card is cool and naturally will work with any Zamasu stuff that we see, not just Vegito, Vegito is indeed just raw battle card. Maybe we'll have one that has the fusion mechanic tied in the SR slot or higher, and I'm really hoping for it. I understand they're trying to keep this game simple, but I love fusion mechanics, and they're so incredibly thematic to one of the hypest things about Dragon Ball. I would love for that to be represented on a card. Nevertheless, we got a 2-drop 20k Vegito, 0 combo power. 1 KO, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with a cost of 2 or less and place it at the bottom of its owner's deck. Don't get me wrong, it's not a terrible ability, but the 0 combo power is really, really, really bad. For a card that like can maybe go for one with the 1-for-1 with the 2-drop, and that's if they ever bother getting around to KO it. And of course, that doesn't count for being bounced, being negged, or just, you know, perpetually being kept in rest mode. I don't know. There's nothing that forces your opponent to attack into this. In the early game, you don't mind taking the damage because obviously you're trying to self-awaken. In general, for the 0 combo, like at 5k combo, I think this card would be okay. But at 0 combo, it just makes it really hard to justify. With all those old reveals behind us, now we've got new reveals as of this past week. So to kick it off, we have Zuno, which is a 2-drop, a 5k power, 10k combo blocker. On play, look at the top 3 cards at the top of your deck and place them at the top or bottom of your deck in any order. I don't look, at the end of the day, if there's like a piece of blue that cares about what cards on top of your deck or bottom of your deck, which naturally there's like this synergizes with the trunk stuff where you can bottom deck a trunks to get it time machined, or you can use, I think it's to kind of coordinate the top of your deck. I don't know. It's a common. At the end of the day, we're not going to spend too much time on it, but I think this is an amusingly very mediocre card. Now we jump into some green stuff, and guys, I swear green will be okay. I know a lot of you guys are really disappointed with what everything green does because you guys think it's overtuned, but honestly, I think the color will be fine. Nevertheless, a lot of the cards that it has are actually pretty good. We have a 6-cost 35k Son Gohan Childhood, so this does synergize with Android 16. Now, I do think Android 16 is a card that gets much worse as the game progresses, given that there's so many ways to kind of get around him as a blocker, but nevertheless, a 10k combo, which is huge. Permanent, if you have a Son Goku in your drop, this card gains double strike. This may as well not actually have a conditional on his double strike. We already play 1-drop Gokus as a cantrip, and a lot of green decks still play Selku, which by the time you get to 6, you almost always have one of those 2 things in your drop area just for the sake of playing the game. So, you know, if you want to have the benefit of having a double striker, this is really solid. Don't get me wrong, there is a cost. While yes, Android 17 and 18 have no combo power, so this being a 10k combo is a huge boon to that. The takeaway of not being able to destroy 2 things on your opponent's board is a pretty big deal. Being a 5k less, while not the most important deal, is also relevant because at base, Android 17 and 18 always threaten super combo plus card, whereas for Gohan, at the moment you need to dump a card into him to threaten that same number, hit those nice magic numbers. Don't get me wrong though, this is very strong, especially if you've decided that the trade-off of not having the removal is more valuable. Oftentimes the big beaters in my green decks sit in hand as dead combo power. The fact that I can combo away for 10k is a huge improvement on that. So doesn't have any additional versatile removal, which I think is a big deal when you're considering what to run. But at the end of the day, if we stray away from such a green heavy meta, we can cut in Broly's, add in some of this, and now you could have like a 2-2 split of Son Gohan and of Android 17 and 18. And now you have the benefit of the removal while having more top end that is able to actually be comboed away, which is a big deal. Don't get me wrong. While I do think things are going to be okay, I mean, hopefully we haven't seen the whole set. I do think this is kind of one of those things that like read like, what? Especially when every other color has their double strikers not have 10k combo power. Moving on to a card that I'm gonna tell you right now, like some people are way overhyping this card. We have Spy Robot, a 1-cost 5k with 10k combo power. Activate main once per turn, choose 3 cards from your opponent's hand and reveal them. Don't get me wrong, guys. I understand information is an incredibly strong component of any card game. Knowing what your opponent has in hand allows you to make more optimal plays, allowing you to potentially close out a game or play a game in a way that you wouldn't have not having known that info. However, when it comes to hand information in other card games, cards like these are usually only good when they do an additional thing. I go back to Gitaxian Pro very often in Magic the Gathering. That's a banned card that does something very similar to this. The difference is that's the whole hand, makes a huge difference. It cantrips, it's free to play, and it's casting a spell, which is relevant when you consider that Storm is a mechanic in Magic the Gathering. In Yu-Gi-Oh!, knowing your opponent's hand's a big difference because you get to see specifically what their interaction points are. And this is how that they're going to play around you building your board, right? When we're talking about Dragon Ball, oftentimes all you're really seeing is like how much combo power your opponent has on hand, right? Maybe you get to see if they have a specific boss monster or not. But generally speaking, this card's not going to live very long. And there's nothing saving you from not seeing the same 3 cards over and over and over again, because your opponent can always shuffle their hand in between you being able to choose. So at that point, it just lends itself to being a card that, while it can read very strong, oftentimes will just be a play where you get a little bit of info, but it's not that big of a deal. Especially as you become a better player, you realize that there's a lot of ways you're constantly hand checking your opponent anyways. Every time you attack your opponent and they combo something away, what they comboed away reveals information about their hand. Did they combo away a 10k when they should have only comboed a 5k? Well, now you know that they don't have a 5k in hand, or they're trying to save it, and so you have a little bit more information about their hand. You can do that every single attack. You can do that every single time they attack and they combo. So every time your opponent utilizes their hand in a specific way, it gives information about their hand and informs you specifically as about how much combo power they probably have anyways. So you do end up losing out on a lot of what the benefits are for this. And if you play it late game, oftentimes I would rather spend that 1 energy using a gigantic meteor than using a spy robot. So not only does the information give you not all that great, the opportunity cost of utilizing this over something else is just really not that great. Don't get me wrong, I understand why some people feel like this might be a little bit too good, but at the end of the day, I think this is an okay card. I think it'll see some funny usages. It gets better if for whatever reason green gets some stuff that allows you to interact with your opponent having specific things in hand. But I think this is just more of a cute card that probably won't see a ton of viable competitive play. For our final battle card, we have Cell Jr. 2-drop 15k, 10k combo, permanent. If you have a Cell battle card with a cost of 8 or more in your battle area, you can use and play this card from your hand without paying its cost. Very, very interesting. So at the very least, this is spoiling that we're getting an 8-drop Cell, potentially a 10-drop Cell, 9-drop Cell, because it says or more. So maybe that's just them keeping gates open for future design space, or maybe we're getting an 8-drop, a 9-drop, a 10-drop. I don't know. I'm just saying there's potential there. It does have an on play, add up to 1 extra card from your drop to your hand. And the more and more I sit on the idea of this card, the stronger and stronger it gets. I'm currently playing 3 gigantic meteors in my green decks because I don't want to brick on the 4th. But with Cell Jr., it is effectively copies 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, depending on how many you include in your deck, that also can combo itself, which is a huge, massive deal in terms of being able to close out the game. It's one of those things that can lend itself to being really powerful, like in similar ways that Peel Off is for blue. Then you tie in the notion that in a green deck, you can Destructive Strength, and if for some reason you weren't able to find your Vegeta or any of the other cards, you can Cell Jr., get that card back, Destructive Strength again, right? You can go on, if you're a first turn player, you can go on for 3, Destructive Strength. Your next turn, you go to 5, then you can play Cell Jr., play Destructive Strength, and then you have a 10k combo chilling on board as well. The fact that he's a 10k combo is great because if you're using this to go get Gigantic Meteor, now your Gigantic Meteor is effectively 35k. It costs you 3 energy, but it's 35k. So it's an incredibly strong card that only gets better as the game continues going. You can play it for free, then it's super stonks. But nevertheless, just being 2 to be able to get anything back from your drop is really strong. We've already seen that with Piccolo in blue, and he costs 3, and he's a 5k combo. So the fact that green now gets that utility, especially when it has the one of the most powerful battle tricks in the game, and has ramp pieces that it benefits from seeing more often if it ever bricks out, lends this card to being really, really solid and something to keep an eye out for because it scales incredibly well with the future design of the game. And finally, to close it out, we have our first extra card, which is probably signifying that the next few days are going to be extra card specific, which I'm excited to see. We have a 2-cost extra, Glimpse of a Hidden Arrogance. I find that name really weird, especially when you consider that, you know, UI is like the least arrogant transformation last form that Goku has. But regardless, we got Goku's back, very prominent, very much there, iconic scene. Activate battle, choose your leader or up to 1 of your battle cards, and it gets plus 25k power for the battle. Then if you have a battle card with 30k power or more, add up to 1 battle card with a cost of 4 or less from your drop to your hand. Very powerful here. This is effectively reads, if you choose a battle card, get a 4-drop or less from your hand, because every single battle card in the game is at very least 5k. Naturally, you can choose your leader if you already have 1 of 4 cards that are already 30ks in the game. So effectively for 2, at the end of the game, this can say that it swings for 35k. It swings for the 25. You're able to get a 4-drop or less, so you can get a 10k combo, and be able to go in for that. Obviously, it also allows you to pick up a beater or a board wipe or anything you're really looking for. Naturally, it goes up to 4. You can even get the UI Goku secret rare if you really want it. The card's neat. I think it's a good battle trick. I think this level of power for extras, especially since they're not able to be comboed away, makes a huge difference in their viability. And I do love the opening up of different ways to play, and the fact that every color is getting a battle trick that can hit the 25k numbers or 35k numbers realistically with what this is recurring, I think is really strong, especially in the face of the fact that cards like colors like green get like 25k for 1. I think, you know, that's kind of crazy. Red has to pay a little bit more, but you get the benefit of being even beefier or having the versatility of being able to use your drop like a second hand, which is very neat. And I'm excited to see what we're able to pick up. You know, it synergizes with Topku, where you discard a card, you can get that card back if you really want it. So that versatility is very nice. I don't think it's a 4 of in any deck, but for the most part, I think it's a welcome battle trick in the suite of options that Red has. Thus far, I'm not incredibly excited about what we're seeing with the reveals, but of course, Bandai does this thing where they do their commons and uncommons first and slowly build their way up to their more rare cards. So it's going to be another couple of weeks before we get anything earth-shattering, but nevertheless, we did get some interesting things. I promise green is probably going to be okay, but the other colors are getting some sweet things too. I'm very excited for what red is getting. Topku is looking better and better every single day. Yellow is looking incredibly strong naturally with the Vegito leader on top of the Bulma, just really synergizing there. And hey, Goku Black lovers, you guys get your little synergy pieces there too, which is nice. Let me know what you guys think of the reveals in the comments down below, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.